The rain hammered against the hotel room window, a frantic, percussive rhythm that echoed the storm inside her. Just 1 week ago, she was Clara Reed, a successful architect, a cherished daughter, a wife. 1 week ago, her mother was still alive. Now, she sat on the edge of a sterile, impersonal bed, the silence of the room a hollow monument to her loss. Her hands, usually so steady sketching blueprints or holding a lover's face, trembled as she stared at the wedding band on her left finger. The simple gold circle, a symbol of the life she had so carefully designed, now felt like a shackle. The weight of it was unbearable. The image of her mother's face, peaceful in the end, was a constant, shimmering mirage behind her eyes. The grief was a physical thing, a crushing weight on her chest that made each breath a conscious effort. After a week in her childhood home, navigating the suffocating sympathy of relatives and the grim logistics of a funeral, she was emotionally flayed, raw to the bone. The thought of another night alone in that silent, memory-haunted house was impossible. So she had booked an earlier flight, a desperate retreat to the one sanctuary she thought she had left, her husband, Liam. She hadn't told him she was coming. She'd pictured his surprise, the way his artist's eyes would soften with concern, the solid comfort of his arms wrapping around her, a bulwark against the tide of her sorrow. The betrayal, when it came, was not a clean cut, but a sickening, grinding evisceration. It wasn't just the sight of him in their bed, the bed she had chosen, in the house she had designed and paid for with the first significant payout from her fledgling career. It wasn't just the tangled limbs or the familiar cascade of blonde hair splayed across her pillow that didn't belong to her. It was that the hair belonged to Ava, her younger sister. The visual was a gut punch, a visceral theft of everything sacred, her marriage, her sisterhood, her home. But it was their words, whispered in the dim light of the bedroom, that truly shattered her. They weren't moans of passion. They were whispers of annoyance. Logistical whispers. She's just so much right now. Ava's voice, stripped of its usual playful lilt, was thin and sharp. Calling every night, crying. I can't keep making excuses for why you can't talk to her. I know. Liam's voice, the voice that had once vowed to cherish her, was thick with impatience. Just a few more days. Once she's back and settled, she'll bury herself in work like she always does. We just have to manage her until she's less of a mess. Then we can figure this out. For real. Manage her. They were managing her grief. Her profound, world-altering sorrow was an inconvenient logistical problem standing in the way of their affair. They hadn't just desecrated her present. They had turned her deepest pain into a strategic hurdle. In that moment, something inside Clara shifted. The immense, overwhelming grief of her mother's death and the white-hot shock of this ghoulish betrayal did not shatter her. They fused. The heat of her rage met the ice of her sorrow, and in the crucible of her heart, they forged something new. Something unbreakable, unyielding, and crystalline in its clarity. The vulnerable, heartbroken woman who had come home seeking solace vanished, calcified into an avatar of pure, cold resolve. She backed away from the bedroom door, her movements as silent and precise as a draft of air. Her presence was a ghost in her own home, completely undetected. They thought they had days, weeks, months to continue their deceit, to manage her. They thought they had time. The element of surprise, the very thing she had hoped to give Liam as a gift of love, was now her greatest weapon. They had no idea that their time had just run out. It wasn't measured in days. It was measured in hours. This was her story now. Not a tragedy of loss, but a meticulous, righteous deconstruction. This was how she tore down the flawed structure of her life to build something stronger in its place. The taxi pulled up to their street just as dusk bled across the sky, painting the clouds in shades of bruised purple and melancholic orange. The neighborhood, usually a quiet enclave of modern homes and manicured lawns, felt alien. Every shadow seemed to mock her. The house, her house, stood at the end of the cul-de-sac, a testament to her design philosophy. Clean lines, minimalist form, a harmonious blend of glass, steel, and warm cedar. She had poured her soul into its creation, seeing it as the physical manifestation of the life she was building with Liam. She'd used a portion of an early inheritance from her grandparents, a fund her mother had insisted she use for something foundational, something that was entirely hers. A woman needs a foundation that no one can take from her, Clara, her mother had said. The memory twisted like a knife. She paid the driver, her hands steady now, a strange calm settling over her. She walked up the stone pathway, her suitcase rolling silently behind her. The house was dark, save for a soft glow emanating from the master bedroom window upstairs. A single light in the darkness. Liam was home. The thought no longer brought comfort, only a grim sense of purpose. She let herself in with her key, the lock turning with a soft, familiar click. The air inside was still, carrying the faint scent of Liam's oil paints and the citrus cleaner the housekeeper used. Everything was exactly as she had left it, yet irrevocably changed. The open-plan living space, with its soaring ceilings and carefully curated art, mostly Liam's, which she had dutifully framed and hung, felt cavernous and cold. It was a museum of a life that had just been revealed as a forgery. She set her suitcase down by the door, her movements deliberate, almost ceremonial. She was a trespasser now, an observer. She could hear them then, not clearly at first, just the low murmur of voices from upstairs. Her first thought, a fleeting, hopeful spark, was that he was on the phone with his agent. He'd been so excited about his upcoming exhibition, his supposed breakthrough show. She had pulled so many strings to make it happen, calling in a major favor with a gallery owner who was also one of her most important architectural clients. She'd paid the gallery fees, the framing costs, the promotional expenses, all under the guise of investing in his talent. Another foundation she had built for him. She moved toward the floating staircase, her feet barely making a sound on the polished concrete floors. As she ascended, the words began to crystallize, separating from the indistinct murmur into sharp, painful shards of meaning. Ava's voice, then Liam's. Her blood ran cold. She reached the top of the stairs and crept down the hallway, her heart a dull, heavy thud in her chest. The bedroom door was slightly ajar. She peered through the narrow opening, and the world tilted on its axis. The scene was sickeningly intimate. Liam, her husband, shirtless, his back to the door. Ava, her sister, wrapped in his arms, wearing one of Liam's old t-shirts, the one Clara had bought him at a concert years ago. They were lying in her bed, her sheets, her pillows, her life. She froze, her body a statue of disbelief. The visual betrayal was a physical assault, but it was their conversation that dealt the mortal blow. It wasn't the heated exchange of lovers caught in a tryst. It was the bored, pragmatic discussion of two people inconvenienced by a tragedy. I just wish the timing wasn't so awful. Ava sighed, tracing a pattern on Liam's bare shoulder. It feels ghoulish, you know? Hey, Liam's voice was placating, but edged with frustration. It's not like we planned this. It happened. And we can't put our lives on hold because she's falling apart. We just have to be smart. How much longer do you think? Ava asked, her voice small, petulant. Before she's, back to normal. Who knows? With Clara, grief is a project. She'll schedule it, analyze it, design a solution for it. Give it a month. She'll be so consumed with her work, she won't even notice us. We just have to play our parts. Be supportive. Let her lean on us. He paused, and his next words were a casual, brutal dismissal of Clara's entire existence. Once the exhibition is a success, I won't need her money anymore. We can be free. You and me. No more hiding. The words hung in the air, each one a hammer blow against the fragile structure of Clara's world. They weren't just cheating. They were vultures, circling her grief, waiting for her to be distracted enough by her own pain so they could pick the bones of the life she had built. Her love, her support, her money, they were all just resources to be managed and exploited until they were no longer needed. The love she thought she shared with Liam was a transaction. The bond she thought she had with her sister was a lie. A wave of nausea washed over her. She backed away from the door, one silent step at a time, her mind a maelstrom of images. Her mother's hand in hers at the hospital, Ava weeping on her shoulder at the funeral, Liam's solemn promise to take care of her when she got back. Lies. All of it. Every shared tear, every word of comfort, was a performance. She reached the bottom of the stairs, grabbed her suitcase, and slipped out the front door as quietly as she had entered. The night air was cool on her feverish skin. She stood on the sidewalk for a moment, looking back at the beautiful, sterile box she had created. It was no longer her home. It was a crime scene. The vulnerable woman who had arrived seeking comfort was gone. In her place was an architect with a new project, a complete and total demolition. The Marriott downtown was a temple of anonymity. She checked in using a credit card Liam didn't know existed, a high-limit corporate card she kept for emergencies. This, she decided, qualified as a Category 5 emergency. The room was bland, beige, and utterly devoid of personality, which was exactly what she needed. It was a blank canvas. She sat on the stiff comforter, her laptop open on the bed beside her. She didn't cry. The time for tears was over. Grief was a luxury she could no longer afford. Now was the time for action. Her mind, trained to see structures, systems, and stress points, was already working, sketching out a new kind of blueprint. Not for a building, but for a dismantling. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through her contacts, her thumb hovering over a name she hadn't needed in years, but had kept for this exact sort of contingency. Evelyn Hayes, the lawyer who had drafted her prenuptial agreement. Clara had chosen her specifically for her reputation. She was known in high-asset divorce circles as the surgeon. She didn't litigate, she dissected. She was precise, ruthless, and left no scars, only a clean, complete amputation. It was nearly 10 p.m., but Clara didn't hesitate. Evelyn picked up on the second ring. Hayes. Her voice was crisp, awake. Evelyn, it's Clara Reed. I need you. There was a brief pause on the other end. Clara, I'm sorry about your mother. I read the notice. My condolences. Thank you. But that's not why I'm calling. I'm leaving my husband, and I need to move tonight. Another pause, this one longer. Tonight? Clara, are you safe? Is there a threat of violence? The only threat is to my assets if I wait, Clara said, her voice devoid of emotion. I just walked in on him in our bed with my sister. I overheard them discussing how to manage my grief until his art career takes off so he can leave me without financial repercussions. They think I'm still at my parents' house until tomorrow. They have no idea I know. I have the element of surprise, and I want to use it. She could almost hear Evelyn smile through the phone. I see. The element of surprise is a powerful tactical advantage. What do you want to do? Everything, Clara said. I want to execute the prenup to the fullest extent of the law. I want the house secured. It was purchased with my inheritance. It's solely in my name. I want him out. I want our finances severed. Immediately. All right. Evelyn's voice was all business now. Here's what we can do tonight. I can draft an email to you right now, authorizing my firm to act on your behalf. You can digitally sign and return it. That will be our retainer. First, your financials. Are there joint accounts? One checking, one savings, Clara said, already logging into her bank's website. I'm the primary account holder. Excellent. The prenup states that any funds in joint accounts are subject to division based on origin. If the deposits were from your income, they are your property. Transfer every single dollar into a new account at a different bank, one he has no association with. Open it online right now. Then, close the old accounts. Don't just drain them. Close them. Clara's fingers flew across the keyboard, her actions swift and mechanical. New account opened. Transfer initiated. All $184,000, the buffer she had painstakingly built, flowed from their shared space into her sole possession. Account closure request submitted. Done. Next, credit cards. Evelyn continued, her voice a calm command in Clara's ear. Any joint cards or cards where he is an authorized user. 3. Clara said, pulling up the credit card portals. All tied to my primary account. Call the fraud prevention line, not the regular customer service line. Tell them your cards have been compromised and you need to freeze all associated cards immediately. They move faster. They will overnight new cards to a secure address. Use my office. One by one, she made the calls. With each automated confirmation, another pillar of the life Liam thought he had was reduced to dust. The Amex he used for his expensive art supplies. The Visa he used for dinners with collectors. The MasterCard he used for gas in the car she paid for. All frozen. All useless. Good, Evelyn said when Clara confirmed the cards were locked. Now the house. I will have an eviction notice drafted by my paralegal first thing in the morning. Since you are the sole owner and he is not a tenant with a lease, we can serve him with a 30-day notice to quit. It will be delivered by a process server tomorrow morning. It will be a shock. It's not enough, Clara said. He has an art exhibition in 2 weeks. His big break. The gallery is owned by my client, Julian Croft. I facilitated the entire thing. I paid all the fees. Evelyn was silent for a beat. That is a significant point of leverage. What do you want to do with it? I want to cancel it. A phone call might be contested. You need to create a paper trail. Send an email tonight to Mr. Croft. Be brief, professional, and final. Something along the lines of, Dear Julian, due to unforeseen personal circumstances, I must regretfully withdraw my sponsorship and support for Liam Reed's upcoming exhibition. I understand this causes an inconvenience, and I am, of course, willing to forfeit any deposits made to compensate the gallery for the late cancellation. I apologize and hope we can speak soon about the designs for your new Aspen property. It's polite, it severs the tie, and it reminds him of the very large, very lucrative project you are working on for him. He will not cross you for your artist husband. Clara typed the email, her words cold and precise. She hit send without a moment's hesitation. The foundation of his future, the career she had been single-handedly funding, had just crumbled. One last thing, Clara said, her voice dropping lower. My sister Ava. This is a divorce proceeding, not a family court matter, Evelyn cautioned. I know. This isn't a legal matter. It's personal. Clara's eyes scanned the minimalist hotel room, landing on her phone. She had thousands of pictures and hundreds of text messages. She thought of her father, already shattered by the loss of his wife, her mother. This would destroy him. But the truth was a necessary poison. Ava had always craved their father's approval, basking in the glow of being his favorite, the carefree, charming one compared to the serious, driven Clara. To lose his respect would be a fate worse than death for her. I have years of texts between Ava and me, Clara told Evelyn. Texts where I'm confiding in her about my marital stress, about Liam's unemployment, about my mother's illness. And I have access to our shared phone records. I can show a pattern of calls between Liam and Ava, late at night, on days I was traveling for work. And I have the photo I took when I left the house tonight. Before walking away, in a moment of cold clarity, she had raised her phone and taken a single, time-stamped picture through the crack in the bedroom door. It was blurry, indistinct, but it showed two figures in her bed. It was enough. What are you going to do with it, Clara? Evelyn asked softly. I'm going to create a dossier, Clara said. A single, simple file. Texts, call logs, and that one photo. And I'm going to email it to my father. With a single sentence. I thought you should know why I won't be coming home. She spent the next 2 hours working with the focus of a surgeon excising a tumor. She compiled the screenshots, arranged the call logs, and attached the damning photograph. She typed the subject line, the truth, and she sent it. The final demolition charge was set. All she had to do now was wait for the dawn. She lay back on the unfamiliar bed, fully clothed, and for the first time in a week, she slept. It was a deep, dreamless, and utterly peaceful sleep. The sleep of a woman who had just cleared the debris and was ready to survey the clean, empty lot where she would build her new life. Liam awoke the next morning to the smell of coffee. Ava was already up, moving around the kitchen downstairs in his t-shirt, looking for all the world like she belonged there. He stretched languidly in the center of the vast king-sized bed, a smug smile on his face. This was it. This was the life he was supposed to have. Easy, beautiful, with a woman who adored him without the constant, unspoken pressure of being his financial equal. Clara was brilliant, yes, and he had loved her, in his way. But her competence had a way of highlighting his own insecurities. Her success felt like an indictment of his lack of it. Ava, on the other hand, looked at him like he was a god. She didn't challenge him, she worshipped him. Babe, did Clara's credit card get declined? Ava called from downstairs. I tried to order groceries on Instacart, and it said payment method invalid. Liam sat up, a flicker of annoyance passing through him. Probably just a fraud alert. She travels so much, it happens all the time. Just use mine. He grabbed his wallet from the bedside table and tossed it onto the bed. The Amex. He padded into the en-suite bathroom, the one with the rainfall showerhead and heated floors that Clara had insisted on, and turned on the water. He could hear Ava from the bedroom. This one's not working either. Or the Visa. He frowned, turning off the water and wrapping a towel around his waist. What do you mean, not working? He walked back into the bedroom. Ava was sitting on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, a look of confusion on her face. They're all being declined, she said. Said to contact the card issuer. That's impossible, Liam muttered, grabbing his phone. He opened his banking app, the one linked to their joint account. He stared at the screen, his blood turning to ice. The balance, which should have been close to $200,000, read $0. 00. Account status, pending closure. What the hell, he whispered. He frantically toggled to the savings account. Also 0. Also pending closure. A knot of pure dread tightened in his stomach. This wasn't a glitch. This was an attack. Liam? What is it? Ava asked, her voice trembling slightly. The money's gone, he said, his voice a hoarse whisper. All of it. As if on cue, the doorbell rang, a sharp, insistent chime that echoed through the silent house. They looked at each other, their faces masks of panic. Could it be her? Ava breathed. She's not supposed to be back until tonight, Liam said, trying to inject a confidence he didn't feel. He pulled on a pair of jeans and went downstairs, Ava following close behind. He peered through the peephole. A grim-faced man in a cheap suit stood on the porch, holding a large manila envelope. Liam opened the door a crack. Liam Reed? The man asked, not unkindly. Yes? This is for you. He handed the envelope to Liam and walked away without another word. Liam's hands shook as he tore it open. The words on the top of the document leaped out at him, stark and brutal. Eviction notice. Notice to quit. He had 30 days to vacate the premises. The property of Clara Reed. His eyes scanned the legal jargon, his mind refusing to process it. The house, their home, wasn't theirs at all. It was hers. And she was kicking him out. What is it? Ava's voice was a squeak. He handed her the papers, unable to speak. He stumbled back into the living room, his legs suddenly weak. He sank onto the designer sofa Clara had picked out, the one that had cost more than his first car. How? When? It had to be a mistake. Clara wouldn't do this. She was grieving. She was vulnerable. She was a mess. She wasn't this. Then his phone rang. The name on the screen read Julian Croft, Gallery. A wave of relief washed over him. Julian. The exhibition. That was his salvation. He could pre-sell a few pieces, get a deposit, get some cash to tide them over until he could figure out what was happening with Clara. Julian, my friend. How are you? He answered, forcing a jovial tone. Liam. Julian's voice was arctic. I got an email from your wife last night. Oh God. Julian, listen, we're having some marital issues. She said she was withdrawing her sponsorship and support for your show. Julian cut in, his voice sharp. She said she would forfeit the deposits to cover my costs. It's a shame, but I have a waiting list a mile long for that slot. I've already offered it to another artist. The exhibition is canceled. I'm sorry, Liam. Business is business. The line went dead. Liam stared at his phone, the silence in the room deafening. Canceled. His breakthrough. His one shot at legitimacy, at escaping Clara's shadow, at being his own man. Gone. Wiped out with a single email. At that exact moment, Ava let out a choked, horrified sob. He looked over at her. She was staring at her own phone, her face ashen, tears streaming down her cheeks. She looked up at him, her eyes wide with a terror he had never seen before. It's Dad, she whispered, her voice cracking. He knows. Clara told him everything. The fallout was not a slow burn. It was a nuclear detonation. Ava's phone had lit up with a single, devastating email from their father. It contained Clara's meticulously compiled dossier, the text showing Ava's feigned sympathy while simultaneously coordinating with Liam, the call logs painting a picture of a long-term, calculated deception, the grainy, heartbreaking photo of two silhouettes in a bed that was not theirs. At the bottom was a one-line message from their father. It didn't rage, it didn't yell. It was worse. It was a statement of fact. Your mother is gone. And now, so are you. Do not contact me again. Ava was disowned. In one clean stroke, Clara had severed her from the one person whose love and respect she had always taken for granted. The safety net of family, the comfort of home, the very identity she had built as the beloved daughter, all of it, gone. She was left with nothing but the feckless, financially destitute man for whom she had sacrificed her sister, and now, her father. For Liam, the implosion was just as swift and just as total. The canceled exhibition was the first domino. News travels fast in the small, incestuous art world. By noon, the story was already circulating. Not of a show canceled due to unforeseen circumstances, but of Liam Reed, the kept artist, being spectacularly dumped by his wealthy architect wife after she discovered his affair. He wasn't a tragic figure. He was a cliché, a parasite exposed when his host finally fought back. His artistic credibility, already fragile, evaporated overnight. He was no longer an emerging talent. He was a cautionary tale. They spent the day in a state of suspended shock, trapped in the beautiful, minimalist house that was no longer theirs, surrounded by objects they had no right to. Every piece of furniture, every work of art on the wall, was a testament to Clara's taste and her money. They were ghosts in a life that had already moved on without them. The eviction notice on the coffee table felt like a ticking bomb. 30 days. 30 days to dismantle a shared history and find a new place to exist. With no money, no credit, and no prospects. The beautiful future they had whispered about in the dark had been a mirage. The reality was a one-bedroom apartment above a laundromat, if they were lucky. The reality was a life built not on passion, but on the shifting sands of betrayal and convenience. The final act of Clara's deconstruction was the selling of the house. She didn't want to live there anymore. The memories were tainted, the clean lines now mocking her. She hired a ruthless real estate agent and instructed her to price it for a quick sale. It sold in a week to a tech couple who fell in love with its stark beauty, oblivious to the quiet ghosts in the walls. The sale was a cleansing, a final severing of her past. She walked away with the proceeds, her mother's inheritance, and her own formidable resources, and she began to build. She didn't move away. She didn't run. She stood her ground and laid a new foundation. She left the prestigious firm where she was a senior partner and started her own, Reed Resilience Architecture. The name was a mission statement. Her firm wouldn't just design beautiful spaces, it would design resilient ones. Buildings that could withstand storms, both literal and metaphorical. Spaces that were honest, strong, and built to last. It was a reflection of her own transformation. Her first project was a women's shelter, a pro bono design for a facility for women escaping domestic and financial abuse. She poured her grief, her rage, and her newfound strength into the blueprints. She designed private, dignified living spaces, light-filled common areas, and secure, beautiful gardens. She created a place that wasn't just a shelter, but a sanctuary. A place where women could not just hide, but heal and rebuild. She channeled her pain not into bitterness, but into creation. The legacy of her mother's death and her husband's betrayal would not be one of victimhood. It would be a legacy of strength, etched into the steel and glass of the buildings she created. She worked with a ferocity she hadn't realized she possessed, her focus absolute. The woman who had once meticulously planned dinner parties and curated her husband's career now meticulously planned structural, load-bearing walls and community-focused urban designs. Months later, sitting in her new office, a converted warehouse loft overlooking the city, she reviewed the final plans for the shelter. The lines on the page were clean, confident, and true. She realized then that the dual tragedy she had endured was not an ending. It was a violent, clarifying event. It was a controlled demolition. It had forced her to tear down the beautiful but structurally unsound facade of her life, to clear away the rot and the lies down to the bedrock. And on that cleared ground, she was building something stronger, something more honest, something entirely, magnificently her own. The grief for her mother remained, a quiet, constant ache, but it was no longer a weight. It was a cornerstone,